Hi there, I'm Andy Looney, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Homeworlds, an epic interstellar space battle game designed for my pyramids by my lifelong friend, John Cooper. Homeworlds is one of the many games you can play with a copy of Pyramid Arcade. In this game, we take on the role of galactic overlords, commanding fleets of starships, blowing up planets in your wake, and ultimately conquering the universe. For this game, you will need 36 pyramids, 3 trios in each of the standard original colors, red, yellow, blue, and green. It's also useful to have a token for keeping track of whose turn it is. To set up the game, sort the pyramids by size and color, and stack them to one side of the playing field. Flip the coin to see who goes first. I'm only going to explain the 2-player version in this video. It's possible to play with more players, but you need additional pyramids and other rules, and it's really a pretty different game. I'm all about the 2-player version, which I call Binary Homeworlds. It's literally my favorite game of all time. Okay, let's discuss some of the basic principles of the game. This is a star system. This is a starship. You can tell it's my starship because it's pointed away from me. Starships can move around the galaxy, jumping from one star system to the next. Of course, there are billions of stars in the universe, but the star map will only show stars where someone currently has a ship. So stars will appear and disappear from the playing field as needed. A new star appears on the board as soon as a ship moves there. When the last ship at the star goes elsewhere, the piece representing the star immediately goes back into the bank of unplayed pieces. This is a binary star. Each player will start with one of these. This is your homeworld. Protected at all costs. If you no longer have any ships stationed at your homeworld, or if your homeworld is destroyed, you lose. It doesn't matter how many other ships or stars you may control. If you lose your homeworld, you lose the game. Now, there are 4 different powers provided by the different colors in the game. Green is the color of growth. If you have green, you can build new starships. Yellow is the color of movement. If you have yellow, you can move your ship from one star to another. Red is the color of the military. If you have red, you can take control of another player's starship. Finally, blue is the color of transformation. If you have blue, you can change a ship from one color to another. To use any of these powers, you must have something of that color in the star system where you want to take the action. If you have more than one ship at the same system, any ship can make use of the color of any of the other ships you have in that same system. Any of your ships can also use the color of the star system itself. There's a third way of gaining access to a color by sacrificing a ship of that color, but I'll come back to that. At the start of the game, each player will select the 2 halves of their homeworld star, plus one large starship. During the game, you will then grow your fleet, expanding to other stars, and eventually finding a way to conquer or destroy the enemy's homeworld, before they do the same to you. Now, let's go over each of the color powers in detail. Green allows you to build new starships, but there are some important restrictions. You can only build a new ship of the same color as a ship you already control in that star system. For example, here I have a green and a blue ship at this yellow star, while my enemy has a red ship at the same star. I can use the power of green to build a new green ship or a new blue ship. However, I cannot build a red ship, even though there is a red ship in this system, since it's not my ship. Also, I cannot build a yellow ship, even though I have access to the power of yellow in the form of the star. This is a common mistake, so I want to be very clear. In order to build a new ship, you must have another ship of that same color in that same star system, in order to make a copy of it, if you will. When you build a new ship, you must take the smallest size of that color available at that moment. Size matters in this game. Larger ships are more powerful and useful than smaller ships, but they're also harder to get. Homeworlds is an intergalactic war game But really, it's all about the economy. Pay close attention to the pieces in the bank at all times. When you take the last piece of a given size to build a ship, you may be giving your enemy a chance to build a larger ship than you. Yellow allows your starships to move to another system. Now, any of your ships can use this power if it's available in the system. The trick is knowing where you can go. The wormhole technology our ships travel with only allows us to go to a star that's a different size from the one we left from. For example, this ship at this medium green star can only move to stars that are either small or large. To move to a new star, simply take the piece you need from the bank, add it to the board, and move your ship to that star. Any piece in the bank can be turned into a star if you have a ship that can get there. If a ship leaves a star and no other ships are at that star, the piece immediately goes back into the bank. Notice that since your homeworld will usually consist of 2 different sized pieces, that you'll only be able to travel from your homeworld to stars of a particular size. For example, here I have a homeworld consisting of a small and a medium. From here, the only stars I can get to are larges. From there, I'd be able to move to mediums or smalls, or back to my combined medium-small. The first round of the game is crucial. When you're choosing the pieces that will make up your homeworld, you are making decisions that will affect the entire structure of the game universe. In particular, the second player will be making choices that will determine whether the universe is more spread out or more claustrophobic. My preference is for games in which the homeworlds are mismatched, like this. In this case, my opponent's homeworld is a small-large, which means they can only get to medium stars. This means our homeworlds are separated by 3 star jumps. To get to my enemy's homeworld, I first have to move to a large, then to a medium, and finally from there to the other player's homeworld. However, if the 2 players' homeworlds match, everything will be more connected, creating a more constricted game board, which I don't like as much. Since the entire game consists of clusters of pieces on an otherwise featureless surface, everything depends on a careful arrangement of those pieces. I try to arrange the pieces in the most helpful way possible so that players will be able to easily read the board and see how the star systems are connected to each other. Again, your ships are pointed away from you, but I also prefer for players to keep their ships parked on the right side of the stars they are at. Take a look at this game, well underway. See how my ships flow from my homeworld to the first zone near my homeworld, and from there to my opponent's neighborhood, so to speak. Systems which neither of us can get to directly go in the middle. This creates a sort of neutral zone, if you will, which neither of us can get to straight from our homeworlds. Furthermore, I like to position the stars so the systems I control are on the right side of the board, with stars we both have ships at going in the middle. Think of it like driving. Your cars go on the right, with oncoming traffic on the left. Unless you're in England or somewhere else where the traffic flow is different, in which case, do it that way. Okay, I know I've covered a lot so far, and we've still got a long way to go. This is a very complex game. But stay with me. Once you absorb all of this, it'll all make sense. In fact, it's really quite elegant. Okay, moving on to combat. The important thing here is that you're not going to blow up a starship when you attack it. Starships are these enormous, incredibly valuable things. It's much better to board it, kill the crew, and add the ship to your own fleet than to just blow it up. That said, ships can still get destroyed, but it happens through overpopulation and catastrophe, not combat. We'll come back to that. With combat, it's all about sizes and timing. Now, a smaller ship can never attack a larger ship. But when 2 ships are the same size, it's all about who gets to make the attack first. Now, this is another area where people have a hard time getting their brain around it, because they think you should be able to move a ship into a system and immediately attack. But you can't do those 2 things at the same time. If I move into your system, I must wait until my next turn to attack you. That's fine if my ship is bigger than any of yours. But if we match and you have the ability to attack, you can just take that ship away from me as soon as I send it in. Be sure to say, thanks for the nice new ship. The last color, blue, allows you to change a starship's color. Here the important thing is that the sizes have to match. You can replace a piece of any color as long as there's a piece of the color you want in the bank. Think of it like painting one of your ships a different color. Okay, let's take a look at some of the first few moves of the game. I've already explained the importance of choosing the sizes of the pieces in your homeworld, but the choices you make for the colors can also make a big difference on the game. You're always going to want to start with a blue piece and a green piece, plus one other color in your homeworld setup. Because from the get-go, you need the ability to build new ships and the ability to change the color of those ships. But what the third color is going to be depends on whether you prefer having the ability to move right away, i.e. yellow, or whether you want a built-in defense system, i.e. red. Now the second move, it never makes any sense to do anything other than build a new ship. First of all, you won't be able to attack anything yet. Secondly, even if you start with yellow, you can't move anywhere yet because doing so would cause you to abandon your homeworld and thus lose instantly. Remember, you must never abandon your homeworld. And thirdly, using blue would mean you should have just chosen that different color for your ship in the first place. Therefore, both players usually build a ship on their second turn. On your third turn, you'll start to face the difficult choices that make this game so interesting. Do you use the power of green to build a new ship, or do you use the power of blue to change the color of one of the ships you already have? The answer will be found by looking at what your opponent has and at what's in the bank. If you and your opponent started with the same color, building again may give your enemy the ability to grow a larger piece than the one you just got. Meanwhile, changing colors at the right moment can allow you to block access to that color by your opponent, or prevent them from similarly freezing you out. The next big decision you will face is when to start moving out from your homeworld. Some players prefer to build up and diversify their fleet as much as possible before starting to explore. Other players like to send their ships out to new stars as soon as they can. If the latter sounds more like you, you're going to want to start with yellow in your homeworld so you won't be held back by the need to develop that technology. It turns out that Homeworlds is a 4X game, which means expand, explore, exploit, and exterminate. You begin with just one ship. Then you expand your fleet to more ships and more types of ships. Then you explore the stars near you, exploiting the resources of other planets to build even more ships. At some point, you will begin to encounter the enemy, whom you will skirmish with here and there until you have the means necessary to utterly exterminate them and thus win. Which brings us to the extermination part of the game. How exactly do you blow stuff up? That's where catastrophes come in. Catastrophes are caused by overpopulation. The idea here is that too much of a good thing is actually a bad thing, and that when a population becomes too large, massive breakdowns occur. The threshold is 4. Anytime there are 4 or more pieces of a single color in the same system, you can have a catastrophe. It is not automatic. It's an option you must declare. But it's very rare, particularly in a 2-player game, for an overpopulation not to immediately turn into a catastrophe. When a catastrophe occurs, all pieces of the overpopulated color are removed from that system. This can be any combination of your ships, your enemy's ships, and/or the star itself. And here's where things can really get exciting. If the star itself is destroyed, all ships at that star are also destroyed. Boom! Overpopulation can happen by building one too many ships, but usually they are caused by one player sending several ships into another player's star system at the same time, overloading it instantly. And that brings us to the issue of sacrificing a ship, the turn option which makes it possible to do more than one thing in one turn. If you decide it's worth it, you can destroy one of your own ships in order to gain a one-time use of that ship's color at any location where you have a ship. If the ship you sacrifice is just a single piece pip, then you only get one action for it. But even that can make all the difference sometimes. Catastrophe! But the real power of sacrificing is when the ship is a 2-pip, or better yet, a 3-pip piece. Since in those cases, you will get to take 2 or even 3 game actions all at once. You can use those sacrifice actions in the same place, or you can split them up however you wish. Let's take a look at a few examples. If you sacrifice a large yellow ship, you gain 3 movement actions. This is the most common way in which catastrophes are triggered. With a large yellow, you could send 3 ships into the same star system at once, or you could send 1 ship all the way across the galaxy, from here to here to here, to overload and explode a system which already has 3 pieces of the same color. Sacrificing a small red to attack a ship in a system where you don't have any red is another great example of the power of the sacrifice. Better still is the ability to attack 2 or even 3 ships at the same time, with a medium or large red sacrifice. One of the key things about sacrifices is that the piece goes back into the bank immediately. This means it can be withdrawn again as part of the same sacrifice action. This means sacrificing a large green is a very powerful move for a couple of reasons. First, suppose the only ship you have at a system is a green large. If you sacrifice it, both the ship and the star immediately go into the bank. The upshot of this is that you can potentially turn a star into a ship this way, since even a large piece can be taken out of the bank with a green action if all of the small and medium pieces of that color have already been used. Similarly, it's possible that the large green itself can be rebuilt as part of the sacrifice action, again, if all smaller pieces have already been taken, and assuming you have a green ship somewhere to use as the basis for building, or in this case rebuilding, the large green. Again, in order to build a ship of a given color, you must have a ship of that color available to make a duplicate of. Sacrificing a green ship gives you the ability to build a ship, but not necessarily to build a green ship. Anyway, when the conditions are right, you can sacrifice a large green to get 3 build actions, one of which you can use to take back the large green you just used, and thus do the same thing again next turn. Such a setup will let you build many ships very quickly, which is why we call it the factory. So, on your turn, you will take 1 action, although that action might be to sacrifice a ship to gain 1, 2, or 3 actions. You can also call Catastrophe anytime during your turn after an overpopulation exists, but that's a free action. Now there is one other turn option, which is to pass, but that's taken pretty rarely. There are those times, though, when your best option is to take no action and wait for the other guy to take an action. But if that's the situation you're in, you're probably about to lose anyway. Okay, besides the rare case of your opponent leaving their homeworld undefended, how do you actually win? That, of course, is the big trick of this game. Part of the challenge of learning it is that even after you've gotten your brain wrapped around all the rules I've just explained, it can still take quite a long time to learn the strategies necessary to actually mount a successful campaign against your opponent. That said, there are 3 main ways to win: direct assault, fleet catastrophe, and star demolition. If you can move a big red ship into your enemy's homeworld, and they have no red available, on your next turn, you'd be able to win by taking control of all of the ships at their homeworld. The obvious way to defend against such an attack is to always have red, or at least whenever your opponent has red, and to always keep a large ship at the homeworld to defend it. The less obvious way is to always have a medium or a large red ship available to sacrifice in case you get invaded by more than 1 ship. You can sacrifice a 2 or 3 point red ship to make that many attacks in 1 turn, which can be very important if the other player sends in multiple ships at once, and they themselves have access to a medium or large rep. The second way to win is by destroying your enemy's entire homeworld fleet via Catastrophe. This is where you sacrifice a large yellow for several moves and send in enough ships of one color to blow up all the ships your enemy has of that color in the system. You can lose instantly if such a catastrophe destroys all of the ships you have at your homeworld. This is easily defended against by making sure you always have ships of more than one color parked at home. But you can still be dealt a fatal blow by such an attack if it destroys your only large, as this would then leave you vulnerable to losing by a direct assault. But victories of this sort usually hinge upon your opponent making a mistake, leaving themselves vulnerable by keeping the wrong assortment of ships in their home guard. That's why I prefer the third way of winning, by destroying the star itself, which they call home. But to win this way, you have to play the long game. You must execute a careful two-stage attack in which you destroy the first half of their homeworld on one turn, then blow up the second half on a subsequent turn. It's difficult, but if you do it right, it becomes unstoppable. That's why we call it the Doomsday Machine. It's not without its own risks, however, because once you blow half of someone's homeworld, the whole game changes. Star connections that once took multiple turns will now only take one. Also, you'll have lost a bunch of ships in causing the catastrophe that took out half of their homeworld. Many a game has been lost by a player who had a distinct advantage, but then decided to destroy half of the enemy's homeworld without a clear plan for destroying the other half, and without realizing how much they will have weakened themselves in the process. That's the beauty of the Doomsday Machine. You focus on building and maneuvering your fleet until you have 2 large yellow ships and 3 each of the 2 colors in their binary star, all parked at properly connected star systems, so that you can use 1 yellow to destroy half of their homeworld on one turn, then follow it up on your next turn by blasting the second half and destroying all the ships they have at home in the supernova fireball. And that's how you play Homeworlds, my very favorite game of all time. Thanks for watching, and thanks for playing my games.